pajamas now. Yeah, it's not me, so it's fine. I can't see, is the camera on now? Apologies for making you wait. We were waiting for one councillor. We thought was an attending person, but he's actually on the line. But that's a pain. You down here? You might. You can hear me.
Who's the front service?
Okay. Hello, Mike. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you put your camera on, Mike?
I'm just scanning through papers. I'll just try it again. I'm trying to get through to you. I'm having the most ridiculous. Come on. Hold on. Here I go. Join the meeting.
It's easy. Let me open your piece. Not on yet, Mike.
Camera is turned off. Camera join now. There we are. I can see you now.
Can't see you.
I've got the camera. That's me there.
Good. Thank you, Mike. Okay, we'll get started. Right, sorry for the delay. You're recording anyway now.
Yes.
Okay, we'll start by introducing ourselves. My name is Simon Carswell. I'm a councillor for Street in Somerset Council. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you. Good morning to you all. I'm Hugh Davis. I'm from West Somerset. My area is Watcham, Willington, all the way to Stagursey, and we point that neck of the woods. So I'm a foreigner in your part. But I have grandsons living in Yeovil, so that's good.
Mike, can you just introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Mike Murphy. I represent Burnham North.
Thank you, and I'll get the officers to introduce themselves as well. Rachel.
I'm Rachel Lloyd, I'm a licensing officer. I'm just the legal advisor.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Okay, so we have to elect a chair. I think that's the first thing we'll do. Any nominations for chair?
You do, sir.
Oh, thank you. Mike, would you want to second that, or do you want to put
I'll second
yourself
that.
up?
I'll second that nomination.
Okay, all those in favour? Good, that's good. Okay, I'll chair the meeting now. Any registrable interest from anybody?
No.
Check.
No, okay. Okay, the meeting will take the form of a round table where everybody will be able to speak in turn. Once each party's spoken, there'll be a time for questioning of those parties. At the end of everybody's spoken, we'll do summing up, go around the table again. Then the licensing committee will ask everyone to leave the room so they can then discuss the decision, and we should hopefully have a decision fairly quickly. So you're welcome to wait for the decision at the end of the meeting. If you don't want to wait, you don't have to. You'll receive a written decision within 5 working days and a right to appeal within 21 working days at the local magistrates court. Okay. Should we start off then with the licensing officer's report.
Thank you. An application was received for a premises licence to authorise the sale of alcohol at premises known as Cosy Middlepath in Greenham. The application requests the sale of alcohol from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. Wednesday to Friday and 11:30 a.m. until 9 p.m. on Saturdays. The opening times for the premises have been given as 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Wednesday to Friday and 11:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. on Saturdays. The application form can be seen in Appendix 1, which starts from page 15 and the agenda pack. Representations have been received both in support of and against the granting of the premises licence, and representatives of people who objected and who support the application are in attendance at the hearing today. Just a summary of the comments in support of the application include positive comments about the management of the premises, the demographic of the customers who attend the premises, more likely to cause problems at the premises, the small size of the venue will prevent large groups of people gathering and maintain a peaceful atmosphere. The comments are summarised in paragraph 3.6 of the report, and then can be seen in Appendix 4 from page 25 in the agenda pack. I just wanted to clarify as well that in total there's 9 comments in support, because I think in the version I've seen they're duplicated. So I just wanted to clarify that there's 9 comments in support. And in relation to the comments which have raised concerns about the granting of the licence, these include comments on the risk of alcohol-related crime in the area, potential noise nuisance, limited parking in the area that could cause issues, and information about an event around Christmas time which caused noise problems for one local resident. And then also concerns about increased noise levels when people are sat outside, which is more likely going to be in the summer months. A summary of the concerns can be seen in paragraph 3.8 of the report and in Appendix 5 on page 37. And I just want to clarify as well that there are four representations which commented on the negative effects of the grant of a licence have been received. During the consultation period, the police agreed conditions with the applicant. These can be seen in Appendix 3 from page 23, and they include installation of CCTV cameras, keeping an incident register, age refusals register, developing drugs policies, safeguarding policies, operating a Challenge 25 proof of age policy, staff training, and as well as having a policy on how the outside area will be managed, including how customer behaviour will be managed, and inspections of the outside area. The applicant has provided some additional information about the nature of the premises, which includes that there would be no music in the premises, no TVs or gaming machines. This information can be seen in paragraphs 3.12 to 3.17 in the report. And in addition to this, the applicant provided pictures of the premises, and these have been published as a supplementary item. They were circulated to people who made relevant representations and appear online in the public agenda as well. And finally, we've received evidence that the advertising requirements in relation to displaying a notice at the premises and publishing a notice in a newspaper are complied with. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, now, if anybody on the committee wants to ask you any questions, we'll do that first. I've got one question. You did say, and I noticed that in the objections, one resident had complained. Was that complaint registered, or was it just, do we know if they registered the complaint?
I'm not aware that the complaint's been registered. I think it was more of a comment that was made as part of their representation.
Thank you. Hugh, did you have any questions for the licensing officer?
Not for the licence, sorry, not for the licence officer, no.
Right, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
I wanted to ask, I heard you say that there was a complaint about lack of parking. Can you just illuminate that a little bit? Can you just tell me what that meant? I mean, can they only park so many cars, or is it a nuisance somewhere? Did you detect that at all?
I think the comments in relation to parking are because my understanding is that it would be on-street parking, sort of for people at the premises. And also on the point of parking, I just wanted to kind of bring it to the subcommittee's attention that if conditions are being considered, I just wanted to remind you all that conditions can't sort of influence customer behaviour beyond the sort of like direct sort of vicinity of the premises when they're, so once people are beyond the direct management of the licence holder and their staff, that conditions shouldn't be imposed that would kind of influence anything like that. But yeah,
Okay.
my understanding is, and I think you can sort of see from the pictures, I'm sure that applicant will be able to kind of expand on the points in relation to parking.
Thank you for explaining that. Thank you very much. No other questions.
Thank you. Anne, did you have a question?
No.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions of the licensing officer? No? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Right, we'll now move on to the applicant, Mr. Moore, who can present their case and call on any witnesses. Okay, Mr. Moore, would you like to present your case? Thank you.
Certainly. So, hello, I'm Jason. I co-own Cozy with my wife. I thought I'd quickly just give a quick intro into who we are, what we're trying to do with Cozy, and how we might use the alcohol license should we get it. And also, I'll then have a quick chat, a very quick summary about how I might address some of the issues and some of the things raised in the objections. So I'm Jason. My wife, I've lived in Brooklyn for my life pretty much. My wife has worked in hospitality. She's worked in serving in alcohol as well. I recently sold, a few years back, I sold an IT business, and myself and my wife wanted to start a hospitality thing, which actually was something that she could be proud of, and it's something she had control of. She's worked in hospitality, but never actually owned her own hospitality business. So we wanted to create something which we would enjoy as customers. The building itself was purpose-built as a pharmacy back in the 70s or possibly 80s. And it closed pre-COVID when they produced a new pharmacy next to the doctors, and it shut pretty much within 6 months. And it then lay dormant and vacant for about 5 years, I'm guessing, falling into disrepair. We took it on. We lived nearby in Hermitage Street. We saw that there was a lot of footfall going down. There's quite a good walkway because people prefer that to Hermitage Street, which is sort of smaller pavement. It's close to the hospital, and there's no refreshments in the hospital or anything like that. The surrounding businesses, such as the vets, obviously pharmacy and doctors. So we thought it'd be a good place to put and redevelop as a hospitality business. We spent a year renovating the place, the floors, new roof, and even at that point, we were thinking about how we could mitigate, impact to people. So when we rebuilt the walls, but we added an additional layer to the walls. So there's now actually sort of paneling, insulation, plus the double cavity wall. So as well as insulating the heat, it actually insulates an awful lot of sound. When we decorate the inside, you'll see that there's wooden slats. They're actually foam backed, they're felt back, so that's going to help deaden the noise, to stop any echoing of noise. And because it was a pharmacy, there's no actual side windows. So there's no windows at the back, there's no windows at the side. It's purely the small frontage, which is exposed to the front. Again, so it's minimal noise that way. We knocked the toilet through, we made it fully accessible and inclusive. We've had pleasant compliments about the toilets. It's very useful for those who mobility issues and external users, and we try to make it dock-end compliant, which is good, I think. During the renovations, I actually invited the licensing officer, so not that licensing officer, PC King, the police officer, to go around and have a look, so that she can actually pass comment during the renovation stage if there's anything I needed to address before, should I apply for a license in the future. One thing she commented on was actually making sure, because there's no pavement directly outside the cafe, she wanted to make sure there was a specific barrier for health and safety, for public safety, between everything outside and the road. So we put in a full, it's made of railway sleeper type things, fixed to the ground, full of earth, to make sure that, to ensure public safety. So moving on to why do I want to attain an alcohol license? We put a lot of effort into and thought into making quite a nice space, which we hope would appeal to people living nearby. And we think it's worth more than sort of a mug of tea and a bacon bun, which is the sort of thing we said at the moment. We'd like to do something a little bit more with it. The afternoon sun, when it sets, it floats to the front of the cafe. It's a nice little spot. And we think it's really ideal for something a little bit more upmarket. There is quite an affluent area going up the road. There's lots of detached houses and that kind of thing. And we think we can offer things like charcuterie boards, possibly a bit of tapas, GT and olives, afternoon tea with a glass of this, that sort of thing. And at 6 o'clock, people aren't wanting to drink coffee at that point. So we're trying to offer them something to go with that. And something to enjoy. I suppose obviously we still keep the standard cafe during the day. That goes without saying, because we have a lot of support from the staff that work in businesses nearby. I discussed with the customers, a lot of professionals and retired professionals. They were very positive about it. Quick note point on the application, and this may be an error on my point. I did tick the box for both on and off license. Now the reason I did that, I have no plans whatsoever of making an off license. We don't have the space. You'll see from the pictures. I have no capacity or storage for any sort of off license capability there. The main reason I took that box is because my understanding, and I'm not a legal person, is that I only had to license the inside premises and the outside premises in order for it to be used, or just the inside premises, and then take both boxes in order for them to have a glass of wine on the small patio area. So that's the reason for the both. I have no intention of making an off license whatsoever. That's the reason for that. I thought it'd be more problematic to license the outside of the building than to take that box. In terms of what I'm asking for 4 hours on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm deliberately keeping it short. I'm not interested in all day drinking. That's sort of 3 times a week. On a Saturday, again, as I said, I'm not interested in all day drinking. The reason I asked for that period of time is primarily to allow me to choose whether I do a lunchtime, an afternoon, or an evening. I've already offered, and I believe it's in the agenda pack, that I'm happy to accept a condition where I'm only open for 4 hours on Sunday, because I'm only planning to do a small slot on that Saturday. I'm not planning to do sort of, open at 11 until 9. That's not what I'm interested in doing. If I'm going to have a nice lunch, people might want a glass of wine with that. If I want to do afternoon tea with a bit of fizz, that's probably going to be in the afternoon. And even the 3-day week thing, I'm probably only likely to use 1 or 2 evenings of that. And the reason I waited until this point to ask for any sort of licensing rather than do it at the point when I was making doing the renovations is I wanted people to actually see what we were building first, to help sort of allay fears of what it might be. So quickly moving on then to try and address some of the concerns raised, and they're neatly summarised in the agenda pack on page 13. There's 5 items. Items 2 and 5 are very similar, so I might just talk to them as a joint item at the end. But we start with the first one. So we're talking about alcohol-related crime, antisocial behaviour, and increased safety risks to children. Now, obviously, for the first for the licensing, children are everyone under the age of 18, I believe. So the challenge 25 absolutely in place. My wife is, as I said, served before, so she's well aware of that. I'm of course trained any staff, but primarily it's myself and my wife would be there. We have an instant refusals book, an instant book, that's all in place already just in case. We don't have any fruit machines, we don't have any gambling, so I don't think there's any risks there. We have no TV. If you can see the picture in the thing, it may look like a TV, it's actually a notice board, it's a little like a train time thing. There's no pictures there, so there's nothing to do with films or anything like that. No adult entertainment, there's no cigarettes or anything like that. So I don't think there's a huge additional risk to children in that sense. In terms of alcohol-related crime and antisocial behaviour, obviously there's the practical things. Again, I mentioned my discussions with PC King about good quality CCTV and long-term recording, developing an anti-drugs policy, and obviously that's zero tolerance. Limiting the hours to 4 hours, I think would help anyway. Also the outside usage policy. I spoke to the officer and I verbally agreed it will go into the official thing when I've written it out. We're not going to allow people to take bottles outside. Wine chillers and stuff will stay inside. For the most part, I pour it at the counter and hand it to them or deliver to them. And because we don't actually have any pumps either, we don't have a cellar, we're not doing pumps. So it's unlikely we're not really planning to have any pint glasses either. It's going to be sort of wine glasses or little tulip glasses. The Somerset 5-year licensing policy, which I've had a look at, I did that as part of my GPS stuff and whatnot. We talk about empty bottles and that kind of thing. Our storage for empty bottles is at the rear of the building. It's completely secure. There's literally no public access whatsoever to that area. When they do go out for the collection, the collection's at 9:30 on a Tuesday. We can put them out to 9 o'clock. +8 could be there for an hour and then they're gone. So hopefully I'm sort of addressing some of the things that have been raised in the licensing policy. And just in general, antisocial behaviour comes primarily from the public, and at the risk of being a little bit stereotypical, the type of customer we're trying to attract isn't the sort of customer I hope would cause that sort of issue. Without the TV, we're not showing any sport. We don't have any pool tables, we don't have any darts, we don't have any pub paraphernalia like that. We're not doing shots. We don't run a cocktail bar, no hamper. So the sort of people we're trying to invite up there are those who enjoy a glass of wine, who will enjoy a G&T, honest or whatever. We're not looking to run sort of any sort of bar or pub. And so we're trying to promote that responsible drinking. I said I'd skip item 2 and do that at the end, so just moving on to number 3. So the additional traffic and limiting parking leading to parking related to actual social behaviour. I struggle a little bit with this one because Crookham is a small market town. It does have traffic issues in general, the whole town, I believe, and parking issues, and I'm not going to be able to solve those. I haven't seen an awful lot of parking related actual social behaviour. I mean, you get some people who don't park particularly well. Most of our customers, well, I would say most of our customers come on foot. We get a lot of foot traffic. A lot of the traffic is actually generated by the hospital and the doctors and the staff that go there. We as a small cafe are not really a destination place drawing in people in cars from outside of town. We're literally a local cafe for local people, sorry. I walk to work, my wife walks to work. The 2 staff that we have, part-time staff, they both live in Crookham and they walk to work as well. So we're not bringing in traffic through staffing. And also to some extent, in my defence, it's a commercial building. Whichever business went there would generate something, and I think we're probably the least offensive of that. Going up Middle Path, a lot of the properties have private drives, so a lot of the people there have their own parking spaces off road. I do sympathise for people in the avenue. There's an avenue there with some houses that don't have, well, it's not next to a road, so they don't have parking. I sympathise with them. I live in Heritage Street. I don't have parking either. I actually walk 3 or 4 minutes to my car. I need to use it. There is a car parked a few minutes down the road on foot, shown if you did to. And the final thing I'd say on parking is that the licensing times that I'm asking for, which is sort of 5 PM and at weekends, is actually when the traffic is at its least. So at the weekend, the doctors are shut, visiting is less, vets are shut, there's a lot less traffic, and after 5, it's starting to die down. So it's the licensing is actually during the sort of the less parking sort of issues times. Item 4, a previous late night event caused a noise issue for a neighbour. Well, I'm sorry about that if that's the case. That's not my intention at all. Looking at that event, I went through the diary to try and find out what event that was, and we were actually shut from the 20th of December to the 21st of January. Room drinks for staff, and we still had no events, public or private, during that period. I did have an event on the 5th of December. A local florist asked to do a flower arranging workshop in the cafe. It's quite a nice place for doing flower arranging, and 12 ladies turned up and made Christmas wreaths. As far as I'm concerned, it was a fairly sedate affair, making the Christmas wreaths. I served tea, coffee and mince pies. and then in between I read a book. I didn't see any raucous behaviour. There wasn't any major issues that I saw, and they left about 9:30. What a neighbour may have heard was me spending an hour with the florist and my wife cleaning up all the leaves and petals that were scattered throughout, and that did take about an hour. So that was that, but I certainly wasn't aware of any antisocial behaviour per se. If that happened down the road, I generally didn't hear of any such issue like that. So which brings me to number 5, and I'm joining in number 2 on this one because for me it's a very similar thing. It's about the increased noise levels, especially during the summer, which affects residents in the hospital. So our outside seating area, as you can see, seats 6 people. I'm not planning for any more tables. I'm not putting any benches or anything like that. I did look at the capacities. That's one of my things I got to do with the buyers, look at the capacity numbers. And the capacity for that patio was actually 14. Now, as part of an outdoor management policy, I'm not going to allow 14 people. I'm more than happy to put in something like 9, so 3 people per table. I think is ample. I don't want to drag that place out. The whole point of the whole ethos of the place is not to pack people in tight. You'll see from the space just there is to keep it not as a crowd-based thing. So as part of that outdoor management policy, limited night, I can always ask them in, or send them on if they're being noisy. I'm happy to put up a sign for that limit, and I'm happy to put up noise warnings and that kind of thing. The actual patio area, so it's a height fence to one side and the wall on the other, and so it's just open to the road in terms of the noise. So there's no real close buildings for it to echo off. It's not an alleyway or a street like that. So you can see that again from the pictures. And as far as the hospital is concerned, now obviously where we are, we get a lot of staff in from the hospitals. We get doctors, we get nurses, we get the admin staff. We have the practice manager comes in, and I actually was quite open with them about what we were planning. I spoke to them. I made them well aware of that, and I didn't receive any suggestion or issues from them that they were worried about their patients or people on the wards. They really didn't seem to think it was an issue of all the people I spoke to. I'm assuming they told other people who were in the hospital. I haven't received anything from them. So I don't know if other people received representations from the hospital, but the inquiries I've made have not resolving anything. There's certainly no alcohol rehabilitation or anything like that. I've asked for that. They've said that. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what Cozy's about and how I'd use the alcohol license if you grant it, and some of the measures that I would take. Is that okay? Sorry, it was a bit long.
Presentation, thank you. No, thank you very much. I'll ask my colleagues first if they wish to ask any questions of him.
Yes, thank you for that. Very, very full address on all those points. You brought me up actually on one of them because I noticed in all your pictures I can't see a fire extinguisher anywhere.
Oh, yes. So we do have a fully operational fire system throughout. We have fire alarms which are checked weekly as part of the maintenance schedule. There's a fire, 2 fire extinguishers at the front with a call point, and there's another at the back along with fire blankets. So there is definitely fire extinguishers throughout.
Thank you for that. The other point, please. You highlighted that you were told 14 outside for safety.
No, not told. That is, I went to my calculations. When I
Oh, you haven't been actually told that.
No, I was requested by the fire brigade to do a calculation. So I went to the planning documents and looked at the fact, basically it's the area multiplied by the type of space gives you a meter squarish times the factor gives you the number of people you can have. And that for an outdoor area of that size I make it 14. I will double check that. I have no intention of going anywhere near that sort of number anyway. I think as you saw from the space, I'd put 6 seats out there. The most I think I would have people there if they were stood there as well would be 9. I don't think I'd want any more than that.
Then we move indoors, please. I tried to count your seats from the picture and I saw I made roughly 16 seats.
Yeah, I think there's, so it means you're getting heads, there's 4 fours, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 sat, plus another 2 sort of sofa chairs.
Yeah. I've got one of them in, so perhaps, yeah, no, it's not the full picture, of course. The reason why I'm asking you is your insurance cover for that is how many are you entitled in that room?
Am I entitled in that room? Again, that would go down to the, I believe, the insurance doesn't specify a number. Again, I would be working on the principle of a calculation for health and safety, to fire risk assessment. I'd work that out to be something like including staff, including kitchen staff. So there's an area at the back for the kitchen and serving area. So there'd be two, again, I'm talking about capacity, not necessarily what I would want or desire. Theoretically, I could have two in the kitchen, two people staffing the front serving counter. And I think it works out to be like 34 in that dining area. I have no intention of trying to get 34 people in there or bring that sort of number of seats in. I've deliberately kept it low.
Well, I would suggest that you're pushing your luck if there was a fire. I would suggest you get the fire brigade to come and have a look.
Yeah,
And give you that. Because when I go to a parish council meetings, in my own neck of the woods of Willerton, they're citing their only old 7 to 16 people. Yeah, it's quite big, and they've got a back entrance like you've got a way to kind. I would seriously look at that because if you're insuring, and then they can't be budgeting many people.
I'll certainly do that. I mean, I do believe as part of the licensing, they had a plan on the premises. I will certainly contact my local fire brigade with them, I think, and I did have a professional fire installation, so the people who actually installed the fire alarm systems. I didn't do it myself. I had someone else do it.
And the other thing I'd like to make, I visited my sister actually at your cottage hospital, which was the best thing there. I was traveling the path. Okay. Where you are, it's having your parking spaces there, it's always there really. It's all private. It's a private road, isn't it, actually?
It's not a private road. It's a public road. It's a public road. It's a public road. There is no parking directly outside the cafe. As I said, we're not really trying to entice people out of town to come. You know, you came not for the cafe. I assume you came to visit the hospital, which have their own car park and everything else. But I do appreciate it does get busy. The licensing, which I'm asking for, which is after 5, is quieter, and certainly at the weekends it's much quieter as well. I don't have any empirical evidence that I'm not sure I generate that much additional parking traffic. People do not tend to drive to that sort of to our place. Specifically, I mean, they may well go because they're a relative in the hospital, and we've had people come out of visiting the hospital and come to us. I mean, we've had a couple of people on respite care in that hospital, and their families will come and actually visit us for a break before they go back in and that sort of thing. So, but normally the people are coming to see the medical facilities.
That transformation, okay.
Thank you. Mike, do you have any questions?
No, I'd like to point. I'd like to say that the point that Councillor Davis made about the fire is well made. I can only add to that when we were kitting out our offices, we relied on the fire extinguisher supply company who come along and sell you all the different types of extinguisher that you need, and they're experts in their field. So I suggest that would be a very good, in addition to what Councillor Davis has suggested, I suggest that might be a good solution for you. And I would just like to congratulate you on something you said earlier, when you said you added an additional layer of insulation inside on the walls. I thought that was a very good thing to say, and I congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say, Chairman.
Thank you, Mike. I've just got a couple of quick questions. I assume you're the designated premises supervisor.
Yes.
What happens when you're absent from the premises?
We would not be open.
Okay.
It's my wife and I that run the place. The 2 staff are part-time and they tend to operate the coffee machine.
So do you plan to have times of closure when you want to have a holiday or a break?
And then, yeah, when we do, then we will be closed.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll wait for, I don't know in a second whether the licensing officer or the legal officer want to comment on the numbers or the issue with regard to the off license. But I'll move on to them now. So Rachel.
Thank you, yeah. The plan of the premises, which is in appendix 2, shows a red line drawn around the inside area of the premises. So that would be treated as the licensed area if the license is granted. So would allow alcohol to be sold in that area. The external area isn't included in the extent of the licensed premises. So in order for people to be able to take drinks out and consume them, that's where the off sales would be needed.
So that's the reason they have the off sales, is so that people can drink their drinks at a table.
Yes, it's not people can take drinks outside of the premises and consume them in the outside area. That would enable that to happen. Similar to with a pub, they would be allowed to sell alcohol in the premises. Sometimes, but not always, the beer garden is included in the extent of the licensed premises, but people are still allowed to buy drinks in the pub and take them outside if the beer garden doesn't appear on the plan of the premises.
Thank you, that's good. Anything else you want to say, Rachel?
Yeah, just on the point about the fire safety, the fire service are a statutory consultee for the application. So they did receive a copy of the application, so the same as, you know, you've got in front of you today. And based on that information, they submitted a response that said that they didn't have any kind of specific observations about the premises, the application or anything like that, but it did give a reminder about completing a fire risk assessment. So that was, you know, that was their response to the application.
Thank you. Nothing else, Rachel?
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to make a comment?
No.
Okay. Oh, you want to ask another question?
Thank you, Rachel. Should have asked you this. As we look at the premises being complied, that very important. People don't get your staff training.
So yes, certainly. In the evening, I'm actually planning to have any staff other than myself and my wife. I've obviously gone through the professional licensee course. My wife has worked in hospitality before and has served alcohol before, but I would have her complete a refresher course to ensure she is up to date. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else want to ask any questions of Mr. Moore?
Can I ask some
Yes, you
questions?
can. Do you want to just put your microphone on, press the talk button, that's it.
Would you be on the,
Sorry, could you just introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Why don't you, what I should have asked you today?
sorry, I'm Rachel Delaney and I live right, basically my fence is in the middle of, so the people will be sat on the other side of my garden fence, which is horrendous for me and my other neighbour. My other neighbour, both of them have gone through cancer treatment, so they can't be here, they don't want to, they've got a lot going on, so I'm here to represent them as well. They're upset, they've even told me they've thought of moving house.
Just limit it to any questions.
Okay, yeah, sure. What I would ask is, are you going to be in the building at all times when it's open yourself?
I shall be in the building all times when we are open for licensing, yes.
Right. And it was very vague about sort of serving alcohol. You wanted to serve alcohol, you said lunch, afternoon, early evening. What does that mean throughout? Does that mean it's hit and miss?
No, so as I stated in the pack, and it's put down in one of the comments, I only want to open either or, and I'm happy to limit that to 4 hours. So it might be for 4 hours over lunch or 4 hours over the afternoon, literally to do some sort of, as I say, if I did a high tea or a bit of lunch, I can choose that slot. That's the reason why I applied for the range of hours on that Saturday. But my intention would only be to use sort of 4 of them for a particular.
So do you think that will affect the neighbours at all, your direct neighbours like myself? And have you ever consulted them with anything that you're doing towards, serving alcohol and how that could affect your neighbours?
I've spoken to my neighbours directly on the left-hand side, looking at it, actually on the right side.
Yeah, so for a minute, because you employ the gentleman on your left hand side that you just recently employed him, haven't you? Yeah. So, that there's not going to be any opposition there, I don't believe. I think that's something people need to be aware of because you're employing that person.
I am employing that person. His mum has ME, and she shares the entire side of that side. And I've spoken to her as well.
I actually spoke to his mum and she told me she wasn't aware of the alcohol. She was quite confused. She said, alcohol? We're going to serve alcohol? Well, I'll have to look into that. So have you spoken to her?
I have. She's been in. She actually holds her glee club in the campaign. And as I said, as what you said, her son works there as well, and he's well aware of all the plans we've done. So I've spoken to him and I've spoken to her.
Wasn't aware of it. She's very elderly, and I think it is a concern.
I know Charlotte very well. As I say, she has a book club in there in our cafe. I've spoken to her son. I've spoken to her. My wife has. So I can only disagree with that. I don't know what else I can say.
I don't want to get into too much of a conversation here. If we can just have a direct question, yeah.
Another question. You mentioned that I think somewhere it says that you're going to be smoking outside. Is that right? Because you said there was no smoking, and then
I have.
that was confusing for me.
As part of the outside management policy and as part of the conditions, I think that I have somewhere in there, I have to provide ashtrays outside. That's part of the requirement I have put on it.
But so there will be smoking outside my garden, yeah.
I'm happy to put no smoking outside. I mean, the piece of fence you're talking about is 900 mil wide. It's been that wide. If I'm more than happy to put no smoking on that table if you prefer.
Okay, and have you any concerns about behaviour that might upset, on noise?
I mean, in my presentation, I went through all the comments I could do about the noise and the next steps I was going to take. I can repeat those if needed.
Okay, I think they'll draw that to a close. I think as regards Mr. Moore keeps saying he's going to make concessions on this and that. I think that'll be up to us when we make our decision.
I suppose what I'm trying to please is I generally want to try and appease my neighbours. I'm not out to make a nuisance of myself, so I'm willing to
Absolutely. Hugh, you want to ask him a question?
Some more your attention, please. Related, let's talk about Kendall. Where is she, here or there?
Or behind?
Right, so
Behind.
Okay.
What is behind you?
behind, okay, so if looking at the picture,
Yeah,
on the right hand side, that is the house of the lady whose son I employ.
oh,
Yeah, so she's the one I've spoken to who has a book club in the cafe. She's well aware of it. Her property runs the entire length of the cafe on that side and behind. So she owns property all the way around behind the cafe. To the left hand side, you see you see the big shed. That's number 13, and then Rachel's,
that's the shed there then.
there's a shed there. You
Yeah.
see the top of the roof, that's the shed.
Okay,
And then, sorry, do you mind if can I approach them?
It's bench.
It's very too big. No, so you see, yeah, so this shed here belongs to the people on this side. Rachel property starts there. And then it sort of gets to the side of the building.
so what's here then? So that's terrace on that side, is that?
Set way back there is the terrace that building.
So what is that, good lady? Good lady.
No, I'm saying like there, actually.
That's what I said.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move on, we next move on to responsible authorities. There are no representations from responsible authorities as they've all been requested to do submissions if they wish to, and they haven't, apart from the police who've agreed terms with the applicant, as far as I'm aware. Is that correct, Rachel?
Yeah, that's correct. There weren't any other representations. It was the police put forward some conditions that the applicant then agreed to, and then that's resolved that the police's concerns.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, we now move on to other persons. So this is the opportunity of the other people in here to say something to the case if they wish to. If you just like to say your name before you start, and then we'll go from there. Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, if you don't. I will be as quick as I can. You've seen my report. Sorry, I'm Rachel Morris. I live 5 doors away from the Cosy Cafe. I've lived there for 21 years now. And without trying to land myself into any trouble, I have several parties a year. But in 21 years, I've not had any complaints about my parties, and I've not had to complain about anybody else's parties either. Over the years, where we're actually located, to the, if you sort of did a bird's eye view, to the left, there is a pub with a large beer garden, which is heavily used all year round. Actually, it's a big smoking garden as well as a pleasant little garden. To the right was a pub up until about 8 years ago, I'm going to say. They had also the biggest beer garden in Crewkerne. They would often have jazz sort of music events of the evening. Never had to make a complaint about them. Never. Yes, you could hear the music, but it was pleasant. I sit in my garden a lot, as do my neighbours surrounding me, and because their gardens are much prettier than mine, but I do my best. But like I say, it's nice to hear people enjoying themselves. The parking issue, if I address that really quickly, before pre-COVID, the doctors caused, you could tell when the doctors was open because of the parking on the road. So I would often say to friends and family, if you ever start to park on my drive, because we would be out at work or whatever it be. And over like recently, and this is completely irrelevant to before the cafe opened, the cafe being there, the parking is much better actually on that road since COVID, and the doctors isn't in quite so much use. People don't have to park on my drive as an overspill anymore, and that's staff from the pharmacy as well that I know. I also say park there if you need to, they don't need to anymore. I would say from Cosy up the rest of the road, most of the houses there do have drives, so all of that road is free parking if you've got a taxable car. So I don't see parking being an issue. Location, I think, like I said, we were between two beer gardens that never caused a problem. The atmosphere in Cosy, I think if you can imagine that actually the footprint, and I'm not very good at visualising, but for me, if you took just the tables that we're sat on, this and the length of this room, this is the inside and outside footprint of the cafe. It is small, and I think where you walk in, you go sort of straight through the cafe with tables either side. It's not difficult to weave in and out or anything like that. So again, coming back to the accessibility, but it's just the atmosphere, and everybody I know that walks in there, the first thing they go is, wow, hasn't this been done really nicely? Crewkerne's quite an old-fashioned town, and Cosy and a new cafe that's open in town have actually upped it a little bit. We need a little bit, I'm going to say a little bit of class in Crewkerne, and that's what they've brought. It's a very pleasant, sweet, cute atmosphere. And I think what they are trying to do, they're not trying to be a pub, they're not trying to be anything like that. It is literally just that. Wouldn't it be nice to just sit here and enjoy the quietness of the area? And it's not going to, I really don't see that it's going to make any disturbance. Yeah, and I'd just like to say fully support it, as I know do many of my other neighbours, friends, family. And if anything, I know a lot of people who are actually quite disappointed that your opening hours aren't more, especially teachers and things like that, where they, people who work all week and can't make it, until after hours. But yeah, I fully wholeheartedly support. And if you've got any questions then?
Thank you. You, I think, got a question.
Chair, can I ask the lady, and ask the bench here, point out where the plans, because
Right, so, yeah, I've got Google Maps on here, so there are two pubs.
In Williams, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
That's,
So sorry. Right,
let's show them here, please.
but you wouldn't see it on.
No, no.
Right, so if we're there, so there was
It's
one
down
pub beer garden was literally about here. And the other one is about here.
So, yeah, this tree.
That was.
Just slightly down from there, so in front of these houses is a walkway
Yeah,
that takes you through onto Hermitage Street. And about 5 or 6 doors down the hill, the pub is there.
some distance away.
Yeah.
It's over there. Well, it was like here, so.
No, but the back of, if you,
It's a
it's
chippy down there,
a long way down, if we're going like that,
then. Chippy's on the main road, isn't it? Like that.
yes, there's the chip shops here. Josie is here. And this is the old beer garden here, I think. So I mean, I'm no good at meters and things. I can show you, that's what I can do is show you on here. And then the other one, what I'm really more talking about is people walking home from the pub and things like that. You know, we don't get any disturbance from, you know, King William's still open all week. They've probably got the longest opening hours of any of the Cleveland pubs. But, this is, you know, this would be the sort of waterway would be through Middle Park and past all this, but we don't get any disturbance from those pubs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we did have, actually, in the papers that were quite detailed distance maps, weren't there, Rachel?
Yes, on page 41, there's some maps. On some of them, you can see where the King William is.
Yeah.
King William is in relation to Cozy, but I don't think the pub is marked on the maps.
Thank you. I was thinking Crew Carriage a bit more upmarket than Charge, but perhaps.
He lives in Ilm.
Right, so did you want to make it?
Yeah, my name's Andrew Callum, and my wife was unable to come today, and she's the one that's written this, so I'll read what she put down, because the licensing officer has asked, we hope you can provide additional information about the current and expected demographic of the customers. So following the basic observation of Cozy's premises and their currently on sale, the local knowledge of the information gleaned from Cozy's owners regarding their plans for their business and relates specifically, as requested by Somerset Licensing Authority, to the demographics, which the main characteristics to define Cozy's targeted market. In brief, these potential customers can be identified as belonging to a specific age group, income level, gender, occupation, and education level, and every business must decide which characteristics to tailor their business towards. Cozy has chosen to style their business and cater towards an older, more affluent target market. This is born out of style, decoration, and the products on offer, and the attention given to accessibility. As have probably already been mentioned, Cozy has stated that there will be no beer punch, no cheap alcohol pops, no shots, which are popular with the young demographics. The products on offer will be high quality wines, bottled beers aimed at the older, more discerning customer who are willing to pay a higher price for point associated with superior products. Cozy's geographical position also plays a large part in the target audience. The immediate area is predominantly larger houses, many of which are detached in the surrounding area within walking distance. There's a high proportion of older retired people, no dependents, and have a higher disposable income. The license application is limited to the number of days of the week applied for and does not extend out than 9 p.m. on any of those days. Again, this will appeal to the older age bracket and possibly retired clientele who prefer to socialise earlier and go home earlier. In summary, the owners are creating a unique, high-quality establishment aimed at a niche market, and I believe the concerns raised that the granting of an alcohol licence could give rise to inappropriate behaviour and noise nuisance in Middle Path are completely at odds with the demographics of Crimsey's target audience.
Thanks very much. Is there anything else? Wish to answer any questions? Jeff? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mike, I just assume you don't wish to.
Nothing to add.
Mrs. Delaney, do you want to say your piece, please?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to say that I live the cafe only.
Oh, you're on your microphone, sorry. Excuse me.
Talk.
You've got right.
There you go.
So I live, right, basically my fence is in between the cafe and my garden, so I can hear everything over that fence. We've had some upset in the past. As soon as the business started, I had my car damaged with some of the workmen, which didn't get resolved, just got ignored. So I think then you went to hammer your fence into my fence, leaving exposed nails sticking right outside the other side of my fence. So relations weren't great at that point. But I have to say, I never thought that you'd be selling alcohol, and I've never had any notice of that. Nobody's mentioned that from the cafe to me. It was one of the neighbours that told me to go up and look at the sign outside. Otherwise, if you weren't passing, you wouldn't have known that sign was there to actually, you wouldn't have known they were going to carry on and sell alcohol. So I'm concerned about noise. My garden, I work full time. My hours vary, but it's a stressful job. I work for St Margaret's Hospice, and I basically come home to sit in my garden to chill. I can't explain. On a Saturday, I can go out into the garden at any time. It is so peaceful, it's quiet, you can hear blackbirds, and that's why I moved there, because it was so lovely. And that is, it's, even with the cafe there, if the sun's out, there's people sat on the other side. That's my private space that's sort of been, taken over. It's not pleasant. And I'd just like to ask anybody, I don't know if you can answer at this point, would any of you like that to happen to your garden, your personal space? Would you like people sat on the other side of your garden fence and hearing noise, drinking, and now alcohol use, which if that was going to happen, it's horrendous. It's so quiet where we are, so quiet. Everybody, there's a lot of elderly people. There's the nursery, which they're contained within the nursery, but I don't think it's a good thing to have people drinking near a nursery. But that's up to whoever. There's also with the fire, because you mentioned the fire situation, and I know that Jason employs the gentleman next door. If those relationships broke down for whatever reason, and they totally don't, I believe that your fire exit's at the back. So if there was a fire at the front of the shop, at the front of the cafe, there's no exit, there's no escape either side, and it's out of the back. That back exit leads into that next door's garden. And if your relationship broke down for any reason, what would happen to, what can they stop you exiting if there is a fire? That is a concern for, a safety concern. I've got lots of things to say. So there's a camera that you've installed, which I have mentioned to you, and that's been ignored, and it's facing our properties. That doesn't sit well with me at all. It could have been facing your entrance away from our properties, but it doesn't. It faces our properties. It's on the left-hand side facing, and Yes, it is. And also there's a light, a security light that comes on. So when it's dark, I don't know what's setting it off, but that shines straight into my kitchen window and the bedroom window at the back. So I don't know if it's, I don't know if it what's setting that off, but it does, it affects me as a neighbour. And you're not aware because you haven't talked to me as a neighbour about any of this. So really, I think what I want to say is I want to prevent any further upset. I want you to have a successful cafe, which you've done a really good job. It's very nice interior. I did, you know, go over trying to talk to you about that. That I think that was to do with my logs that used to, when it used to be a pharmacy, I used to get my logs delivered on the back of the road and then they'd allow me to throw them over my back fence, which I asked you if that would be possible to carry on. And you said, no, I'm going to put a fence up to stop you going into my area. I was like, okay. So relations didn't set off very well. And I think we need to consider the neighbours and how they're affected. I think it's really important that you do consider the neighbours. There's 13 houses in the terraces, and the lady at the other end, as she's told me, she doesn't agree with any of this and the alcohol usage. And she knows there's lots of people that, you know, in that they're elderly, and I can't see that it would benefit them. Is that okay?
Thank you so much. I just want to have a 5-minute joke. So I just some, then we'll ask the question. No, I shouldn't have drunk a pint and a half of wash before doing it. Right, we'll reopen the meeting. I've got just a couple of quick questions. One for the licensing officer and one for Mr. Delaney. For the licensing officer, were all the notifications in line with requirements?
Yes, they were, in addition to the sort of statutory consultees and the notice that the process, you also notified Queen Town Council and the division members as well, just to make them aware of the application. But yes, everything statutory was complied with.
Thank you. And just to Mr. Delaney, I know the premises were closed for 4 to 5 years, but there was always the possibility of a commercial premises reopening behind you. I mean, obviously you didn't know it was going to be a cafe or whatever. There was always going to be some sort of disturbance. Whatever business opened.
I never had any problem with the pharmacy at all. They were great, absolutely great.
Thank you. Jim, do you have any questions? Mr. Tulane?
I wasn't just advice, but I thought keep quiet, get inside.
Mike, do you have any questions?
No further questions.
It's a foreign country, there's like a time delay. Do any officers have any questions? Yes, thank you. Anybody else any questions?
Only one is to just point out that I'm a parish councillor myself, so speaking not for my wife, but as somebody that's sat here, is that nobody has the chance or the option to stop somebody from smoking in their garden next door to your garden and enjoying themselves or making a noise. We all like to sit in peace and quiet sometimes, and then you always get half a dozen people that decide they want to cut the grass. And so we're not in control of noise around us. That's just one of the things that we like. So.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to get into too much of a debate, which you can correct. Is there anything saying yes, go on, you can come back.
It's not just general noise, it's alcohol infused noise is what I'm concerned about.
Okay, thank you. Right, we'll move on now. Does the licensing officer have any further information they wish to present? Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the summing up or closing submissions. First of all, it'd be responsible authorities, but there are none. Other persons, do any of you wish to just sum up? Don't have to. Yeah.
I'll just ask that question again. Would any of you like that to happen at the back of your garden fence? To have people drinking and smoking behind your garden fence with the possibility of 16 people sat there?
It's a difficult one to answer, I suppose. I did have a pub fairly close to me, where there was occasional roundish noise. That's now converted to housing.
And you're happy about
But
that?
I didn't have any issue with it, but that's just a personal thing, so I don't really want to go into.
Anybody else like to, not something to respond to?
No.
Okay.
Okay,
Just I mean,
I'm getting a chance here, still, sorry, just wait. Okay, does the applicant wish to sum up? Oh.
yes, sorry. I mean, Rachel, as Mr. Delaney has made a few comments there. I'm not going to go through them. I don't agree with all of them. But I do not want to I don't necessarily want to turn this into, she said, he said. So, I just to state this out, I don't necessarily agree with what she said. Just as a quick sum up, you know, the whole point of this for me was to create a space which is really enjoyable, and offer some services which people could, enjoy and offer something slightly different to what's in town. I think that the inclusivity, the accessibility will help. And I don't believe, with the steps I'm planning to take, that I'm going to impinge heavily on the 4 licensing objectives and student control.
Thank you very much. I will ask people, you're not actually in the summit, do you have anything else you wish to say?
No.
Okay, Rachel, do you wish to say that, please?
It would just be to kind of go over
Yeah.
the options available and what we would be sort of considering. So the options are to grant the licence subject to such conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule, modified to an extent the authority considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. You can exclude from the scope of the application any licensable activities, refuse to specify a person as a designated premises supervisor or reject the application, and in determining the application, regard and appropriate weight must be given to the following, which are any relevant representations, and the guidance and statement of licensing policy and representations that have been made in relation to the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. So now I'm going to close the meeting so that the subcommittee can retire to determine the matter. I ask everybody to leave, and you're quite welcome to wait in the area outside for our decision, apart from the legal officer who I'd like to stay. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and thank you all very much for coming.
Which house?